Hey everybody, welcome to the Sharp Tizzy Pizzy. If you want to help me out, like this video, subscribe to my page, and subscribe to my Patreon as well, which is where you can get the exclusive video, the entire video, the video in its entirety. You go to patreon.com/Jessimae Peluso. But for now, just hit thumbs up on this video and share it with your friends. Also, you can rate the podcast if you're listening to it. Find that little rate tab. Give us 5 stars. That's all I want. We have a lot of ratings. Let's read through a couple of them. I was reading through and laughing to myself because I forget that I have that. I forget that I have the ability to see what people have said about the podcast. And this is on the Apple app. You can go right down. I rate 5 stars. Ooh, I just did 3 on accident. Fuck. Damn it. Let's see. These are the most recent ones. Keep up the great work. We're similar in age. I really enjoy the friendship and mentor I feel like I have in Jessimae. Very relaxing and enjoyable listening. It keeps me grounded. Thank you, Goddess Queen. Well, thank you, JJAL 1414. Someone said, "Are you kidding me?" I say that a lot, so I don't know if he's quoting me. This woman is so freaking awesome. This woman is so freaking awesome, Sauce. I don't even know how to begin with the ratings, with the righteous things to say first. I love everything about her. I laugh all the time. I get emotional sometimes. She's such a smart brain mouth. Who doesn't like her, huh? Man, I sure do. You're one of the great ones, Jessimae. Keep on doing this thing right here. You're a gem in my ears and my heart. Thank you for being a great human. Are you kidding me? So you guys can be in this list. She's truly a girl's girl, everyone's bestie or sister. I love JM. She's hilariously relatable. Go see her stand-up. That's right. Go see my stand-up. I have a full fall tour, the Hot Sister Tour, coming to you. I've got about 6-7 dates. Jessimae.com/tour to see me live. And don't forget to call the podcast, 513-916-0930. Leave us a message, ask a question, ask for advice, however you want to incorporate that call into the podcast. It'll be played on the podcast. So thank you so much, and make sure to come check me out. And any way you guys support me, whether it's buying merch from my website, which the new merch is up, new merch alert, Hot Sister merch available. However you support me, whether it's buying merch or getting a ticket to see me live, a portion will go towards the Alzheimer's Association and Hilarity for Charity. Click 5 stars on the podcast. Now that that's all out of the way, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I did bring back a little bit of Dr. P this weekend. It felt good to step back into it. Not that it's, some huge event or some huge force in the world, but it's a force in my world. And it's fun. And I get on the Instagram. I get onto the Instagram, talk to the people, and ask them to submit questions for me to answer. So I answer a couple of those on today's podcast. I kept a couple for the pod. But let's talk about a tragedy that occurred. There was a tragedy this week, a real big one. I don't know if you've heard me talk about pinza. Pinza's a pizza from Sprouts. I'm already talking about the grocery store again. I'm clearly 85 years old. If you discuss grocery stores, you're 80. But I have these pizzas from Sprouts. If there's a Sprouts near you, it's called pinza. It's a type of pizza. I don't even know if it's alive in Italy, if it's something that was just created here in America, but it's delicious. It is, mark my words. Listen clearly. It is the best frozen pizza I've ever had in my life, and I've tried every freaking type of frozen pie there is. I've tried all the frozen pies, the Trader Joe frozen pies, the Whole Foods frozen pies, the DiGiorno's. It's not delivery, it's Giornios. I've tried it all. Nothing compares to pinza. Feel good pizza. It's so good. I want them to sponsor my life. So if you're near a Whole Foods, actually it's not at Whole Foods. If you're near a Sprouts, that's where you got to go get it. So if you're near a Sprouts, go grab you a box of pinza. Say thank you later. You're welcome ahead of time. I was excited. My cousin stopped over. We were planning our world takeover, and I was like, "You want a pie?" That's how I show love. I'm a Sicilian. I'm like, "You want a pie?" She came over yesterday. I said, "You want some scrambled eggs? I'll cook for you." So she came over a couple days ago. I said, "You want a pie?" She said, "Yeah, I want a pie." I popped in my garlic pinza. Didn't even tell her. Wanted to surprise her. I'm like, she's going to love this pizza. She doesn't even like to eat gluten because she's one of those monsters. I don't even care if I've got a gluten allergy. I'm shoving the pizza down my throat. There's certain challenges in things we just have to bear. But I toss the pie in. We're chit-chatting. I take the pie out, and I wanted to present it to her. So I put the pie on my little pizza plate. I like to lay down a nice slice of the wax paper. make it look real nice like we're in a pizza shop. I put the pie on top of that, and I turn to show her the pizza, present it to her all fresh. It flies off the pizza plate, lands cheese side down on the ground. Not just on the ground, on the carpet that Carlin likes to bunch up and nap in. So, and before I did that, I go, bitch. And then I turned around and showed her the pizza. And it fell, and she laughed so hard. And I laughed so hard. And that was a sign of growth, because little things have been frustrating. I don't know if little things have been frustrating you, but little things have been frustrating. And now they're not so frustrating anymore. So I was able to laugh at my favorite frozen pizza on the ground. We can all get through it. We can all get through it. I will say the one thing I almost couldn't get through was this new show. Well, not so new. It's called The Curse, and it's with Nathan Felder and what's her cute face name from La La Land, Emma Stone. Is that her name? Emma Stone? Is that a name? I think that's her name, with the big eyes. She looks like she's half reptilian. She looks like a reptile. And Nathan Felder, and it's a weird show. It's called The Curse. Did you watch it? It's so weird. It starts off and you're like, oh, this is going to be good. This is different. The cinematography is different. It's Nathan from Nathan For You, which is such a ridiculous show. He's a ridiculous human being. In The Curse, it's a commitment now watching these shows. You've got to commit days of your life to watching them and finishing them. No longer are the days of just movies. Now they're turning movies into 10 episode series, and everything that should be a movie is now episodic. And so we're staying inside. No wonder people are lonely. Netflix is not your friend. I mean, they're your friend, but they're not your real friend. Hulu's not a family member. And I think we've replaced our family members with these streaming services. And so here I am with my man trying to watch a new series, The Curse. We're committed. Him and I don't like to have things unfinished. We're both kind of anal retentive in that way. We like to finish things. It might take us a little bit of time to finish it, but we're going to fucking finish it, no matter what. So we're committed to finishing it. We're like, maybe the finale will be something. Maybe the finale will wrap all of this craziness up. Nope. Did not. The finale was equally as confusing as the show. And it really had a lot of potential to be something unique, and I'm not going to spoil it because maybe somebody out there will enjoy it. Go watch it. Terrible promo. The show is horrible. Go watch it. It's like when people say, oh, God, this smells. Smell this. I don't want to smell it. You ever have people do that? They're like, oh, God, this smells horrible. Here, smell it. I don't want to smell it. There's a reason it smells horrible. Evolutionary speaking, I shouldn't be near it. It's probably dead. So the series is dead to me. We finished it, and maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm a different type of person because I'm in the industry a little bit and I have a different taste. We all have different tastes. That's why there's a lot of different shows, and God bless everybody. But it didn't do it for me. The pizza falling on the ground was less disappointing than this show. So check it out. Please check it out. There was, there's so many things in the news. Let's do a couple absolutely nots. First, I want to get through what happened with Matthew Perry. Horrible situation where he passed away. He was on drugs, obviously addicted. And there's some revelations to his case that came out. And the story just hit me so hard. Like, it hurt my heart. First of all, this woman who was the dealer is called the Ketamine Queen, which already I smell a Netflix series brewing on the horizon. Why are we giving her a cute name? Someone died. She doesn't deserve a fun name. I've already gone through this with capitalizations. She doesn't deserve some carnival name. Someone died. All the way I know, my friend Annie is probably pissed that she didn't think of this name for herself, because Annie does ketamine all the time. Therapeutically. Not like this. But ketamine's a strong anesthetic with like psychedelic properties that they used to use as horse tranquilizer, but now it's been used to help people with anxiety, depression. I think it even helps people with PTSD, various health problems. And some people have had really amazing success with it when it's used in coordination with a therapist, when it's used in coordination with someone who understands how to administer it, not just buying it off the street, but people also use it recreationally. So on the day, this is a news article that was on, I think it was NewYorkTimes.com. And the title was something like, "Give me the big one. Shoot me with the big one," I believe it was. And so it says, on the day that Matthew Perry died, his live-in personal assistant gave him his first ketamine shot of the morning around 8:30 a.m. And around 4 hours later, when Mr. Perry was watching a movie at his home in Los Angeles, the assistant gave him another injection. And that made me realize Deb's got it easy. She doesn't have to shoot me up with drugs. But now that I know this is on the list, Deb, you got a new job. Mr. Iwamasa filled a syringe with ketamine, gave his boss a third shot, and left the house to run some errands. According to court papers, when he returned, they found Mr. Perry face down in the water, dead. That's what happened when Matthew Perry died. His assistant has shot him up with a third shot of ketamine for the day. And this is where it gets tricky, because you're dealing with addiction, but you're also dealing with someone who's somewhat of an enabler doing this. At some point, someone's got to go, hey, this isn't my job title. You know, there's certain things I'm not going to have Deb do. It's not her job title. It's rude. And it's a liability. And what errands are you running? Can you imagine going to FedEx and Trader Joe's after injecting your boss with ketamine? Just an absolute tragedy all around. And I'm not even a real doctor. I play one on a podcast. But it seems like your health is safer in my hands than it is in a lot of these doctors' hands who are dealing with famous celebrities who are able to make money on the side. That's not to say I'm a real doctor. I'm not. We are going to answer Dr. P episodes on this episode. Mr. Iwamasa was one of 5 people the authorities in California said this week had been charged with a conspiracy to distribute ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, to Mr. Perry. The defendants also include 2 doctors, a woman being accused of being a dealer, the aforementioned Ketamine Queen, and an acquaintance who pled guilty to acting as a middleman. The court papers referred to several instances where Mr. Perry experienced adverse effects from the drug, including when his assistant found him unconscious at his home and observed him losing the ability to speak or move after a large dose. Why aren't you stopping? How much is he paying his assistant? And is any amount worth that? Would you want to put yourself in that situation? I can't even handle when dogs aren't doing well. I would feel horrible. And watching a person do this? I mean, if Chaplin's limping around the house, I'm like, someone's got to call the police. Something happened. An assistant was just okay with his boss being fully unconscious. That's where the problem is for me. People have to have some sort of moral level for themselves. But when money's involved, it gets really, really freaking tricky. It says Dr. Salvador Plasencia, a physician who was later charged in the case, as he sought the drugs. Okay, so this doctor is the one who got the drugs. At one point, the doctor mused the money he stood to make with a friend, saying, "I wonder how much this moron will pay." That's horrible. This doctor texted to another doctor, who prosecutors said later they supplied him with a total of 22 vials of ketamine and ketamine lozenges obtained through a fraudulent prescription for the drug. And then the doctor said, "Let's find out." And so these doctors pled guilty. One of them pled guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to distribute ketamine. So that week, Dr. Plasencia met Matthew Perry in a parking lot with his assistant, with whom they shared a mutual friend, this guy named Mr. Fleming, who agreed to cooperate with the law enforcement after. And basically, they met this guy in a parking lot. The actor got injected in the backseat of the doctor's car, or in Matthew Perry's car. And then the doctor passed along more vials. And Matthew Perry ultimately paid $55,000 to this doctor for ketamine over a period of a month. Just a month of him getting this supply was $55,000. And that wasn't under prescription papers. So like, I've had friends and, even like my lawyer be like, be careful saying that you're a doctor. You have to be, there's doctors out here who are actually doctoring, doing fraudulent and really horrible things to people. So Mr. Matthew Perry began communicating with this guy named Eric Fleming. And they had a friend that was mutual, and this guy agreed to talk to law enforcement, but this guy Fleming told Matthew Perry that he could sell him ketamine at a good price, as long as he received a tip for brokering the deal. Look, I love a deal, but there's certain things in life you should not get a deal on. There's certain things in life you should just pay full price for. One of them is shoes, unless you're going real budget shopping. But if you want to get like a designer pair of shoes, you're paying full price for a good pair of shoes. You're paying good price for a full nice pair of Italian leather shoes. You're paying good price for a suit. You don't want to get ketamine on a discount. It's one thing to get a discount for things you put on your body. It's another thing for you to get discount for putting things in your body. BOGO shoes, okay. BOGO ketamine, not okay. But this is something that's easy to say on this side of the table because I'm not an addict. But this is where it gets tricky, where there needs to be accountability for these doctors. And then this guy said, I did some calling around about the Mexican stuff, and it's fine for people too, Mr. Fleming said. Never in your life should you ever put anything in your body referred to as Mexican stuff unless it's a taco. That's the only Mexican stuff I'm putting in my body. Guacamole as well. It's not okay to put the Mexican stuff referred to as a ketamine into your body. So it says on the same day that Matthew Perry received a legal ketamine infusion treatment from another doctor at a medical office. So this is what happens. So now because Matthew Perry's an addict, he's not just going to stick with one doctor. He's going to get the supply wherever he can get the supply. And that's why these people should be held accountable and liable for his death, because they were supplying him. They're supplying an addict. So this doctor visited Matthew Perry's home after Matthew had already gone to another doctor to get ketamine and administered a quote-unquote large dose of ketamine, according to the assistant. And Matthew Perry that day froze up and was able to speak or move and experienced a spike in blood pressure. And the assistant and the doctor struggled to get him onto a couch. And then the doctor said something to the effect of, let's not do that again. Let's? I'm not involved in this. I'm just the assistant. You're the doctor. You have the degree. So the next day, after all this craziness, Dr. Eric Fleming delivered a sample vial of ketamine to Mr. Perry's house for $180. Satisfied with the drug, turns out that the assistant asked for more. And then Eric Fleming delivered 25 vials for $6,000 with a $500 tip. And then 10 days later, he delivered another 25 vials along with ketamine lollipops as a bonus. This guy is like the worst Willy Wonka in the world. It's like Charlie in the ketamine factory. And it's horrible. And I hope these people get held accountable. I really do. As a fake doctor, these real doctors need to be held accountable. And that's why I always question doctors. I think it's healthy to question doctors. Like, when's the last time you read a modern article or something that is challenging what you've been taught? And that was one of the frustrating things when I was with my parents, or when my parents would go to doctor's appointments. My mother had heart problems, and I gave her a list of questions. Not that I'm a know-it-all, but like a lot of children would do for their parents. I Googled. I did my own research. And my mother was having heart problems. And I asked her to ask him about diet and her history of eating and what she can change. She went to the appointment. She didn't ask him the question. And he didn't offer any nutrition advice because they take very minimal nutrition. So I say all this to say, question doctors. They're not God. They don't know everything. And a lot of them are scam artists. You guys know I'm all on the scam. I'm all up on the scam. This is tragic. I'm not trying to exploit addicts. I am no way trying to exploit Matthew Perry's life, but this article really hit home for me. I felt so bad for him being surrounded by all of these leeches, and I hope that they get their day in court, and I hope that they get what they deserve. And speaking of getting what they deserve, let's switch topics. Something a little bit more uplifting. The Poltergeist house is for sale. Not necessarily uplifting. It's kind of terrifying, but I love Poltergeist. It's such a great movie from 1982. Iconic Poltergeist home hits market for the first time in 45 years. I'm so pumped. Poltergeist is partially inspired by the true story of the Herman house. Although Poltergeist is not an exact adaptation of actual events, the film was partially inspired by the story of the Herman house in the 1950s. Supposedly, Poltergeist terrorized a Long Island family in their home. Everyone knows about the Herman house, famous story. Poltergeist home that is for sale is the one where they filmed the movie. And the home is well loved by its original owners and is ready to welcome a new family without ghostly antics. According to the realtor, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to live in a home with a story, minus the spooks. You guys keep saying minus the antics, minus the spooks. Makes me think that there are antics and spooks in this house. Why are we even mentioning it? And if a man arrives at the door looking like Cain asking for Carol Ann, I'm going to get my money back. If a guy arrives like, oh, it's a nice day for being outside. You guys remember that guy from Poltergeist 2 with the teeth and the sunken in eyes? Looks like me before I get my face mask on in the morning. No way. You're jamming up my frequencies. It's not going to happen. But this house is on sale. 1.5 bathroom home, 3-car garage, jacuzzi, swimming pool, 16,000 square feet. It's the largest lot in the neighborhood, according to Zillow. And this house is clean, the Zillow's listing said, as a funny reference to Poltergeist, where Marsha, I think her name is, the poltergeist woman who shows up and tries to get all the spirits out. She says, this house is clear. But this house is not clear. I call a scam, and I want a discount. I don't care that this isn't even the home where the bizarre events took place. Martha Leash, parapsychologist, is a woman who shows up, and she's like, you're jamming up my frequencies. This house is clear. I don't know if this house is clear, because you guys keep mentioning it. And there are plenty of other houses available on the market, by the way. If you're looking to move into the Poltergeist home, you're looking for a haunt. You're asking for a good haunt, is all I'm saying. From the makers of Selling Sunset comes an open house to a portal of hell. I wouldn't mind staying in the real house just for one night, but I would be terrified. That's something that's on my bucket list to do, to stay in like a haunted place overnight. I think that'd be a lot of fun. That's a place where you get on the other side of your fear. You might need, a couple shorts, extra pairs of shorts for the experience, but the fact that this house is even portraying a house that was built over a portal to hell, I think I deserve a discount. If the realtor's like, oh yeah, I think the house is built over a former cemetery, yeah, I get a deal. I'm going to take the deal. This is where getting BOGO is okay. Buy one ghost, get one ghost free. So if anybody wants to move into, I believe it's in Simi Valley, this house that's for sale. Let's see, 23 Roxbury Street. I think it is Simi Valley, somewhere in California. But you can go ahead and live in a kind of haunted house. Enjoy it. Let me know how it goes. Uplifting news. This was really sweet. Some news stories. This was so sweet. Gizmo the dog went missing in Las Vegas in 2015. He's been found alive after 9 years. Can you imagine? Oh my God, if Chaplin went missing and I found him 9 years later, I wouldn't even be able to handle it. I wouldn't give up. Well, the mother didn't give up. Las Vegas, Associated Press, Judith Menares crumpled onto her kitchen floor and wept when the news arrived in an email that Gizmo, her pet dog missing for 9 years, had been found alive. Menares was 28 and living with her parents in 2015 when Gizmo, then 2 years old, slipped past a faulty gate in the backyard of their home in Las Vegas. Damn it, those faulty gates. You got to check the perimeter. And when I'm walking my dogs, I do this weird thing when I'm walking around the neighborhood where I look at other people's homes and I'm like, that's not a good fence. Because I always think, oh, I could live there, but I need to improve the fence. You need a fence like how they keep velociraptors in. Because dogs are really smart and they're very, very resourceful, especially street dogs. And all of my dogs are from the street. They're all pound puppies. Chaplin has gotten out of an enclosed yard that I have multiple times. I remember one time he was just gone. And then the fucker showed up at the front door like he was selling ads. Showing up at the front door like he had a new religious book he wanted to share. It's like, hey, what's everybody doing in here? So dogs are very resourceful, but can you imagine what that dog got into in the streets of Vegas for 9 years? Gizmo's just running around Vegas for 9 years. Probably had to turn into a hooker and turn tricks for dog treats in the streets of Vegas. Shows back up home with one eye and a cigarette habit. Oh, God, you don't know what I've seen. I've been through a pretty rough situation in more ways than one. You got any bourbon? Gizmo probably got hardened by the streets of Vegas. Check your gates and love your dogs because they can sneak out, and register your dogs because basically the way she was able to recover her dog and the way the dog was able to be returned to her was because there was a chip. So make sure when you get a dog, you chip them. All my dogs are chipped, and that's the veterinarian, if they find the dog, if people are nice enough to bring a dog to a vet to check and see if it can get scanned for a chip that's inserted under their skin, the vet will just scan it like a Target employee, and your dog rings up on the cash register. That's a good question. I wonder if you have to pay for your dog being found, which is strange because like your dog gets returned to you, you don't have to pay. But if your dog dies, you have to pay out the ass. If your dog dies, you have to pay so much money. It's like, you just took my dog away. Why am I paying? You returned my dog in powder form in a fucking Ziploc bag. I owe you money? Scam. It's all a scam. Speaking of scam, we got some news from my dead dad. This is one that Deb found that I thought was just fantastic. Demi Moore wants to normalize farting. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. This is a topic I always get into arguments with my man, who I won't go into grave detail because I don't want to embarrass him. But she says farts are nothing to be ashamed of. They're very normal. Cats farts, dogs fart, birds fart, even bugs fart. Moore reads from a new book that she has collaborated with a digestive company called Wonderbelly. 61-year-old actress has collaborated with a digestive medicine company, Wonderbelly, which released a new book titled An Adult's Guide to Farts, written by co-founder Lucas Kraft and illustrated by Jessica Page Dawson. I was first introduced to Wonderbelly when they came out with their clean ingredient antacids. As a huge advocate of gut health, I immediately fell in love with the product and became an investor. Now they've launched their new bloat and gas product alongside the hilarious and educational book. I love them even more. Farts are nothing to be ashamed of. They're very normal. Cat farts are not normal. I'm going to go out on a limb and say anything that comes out of a cat is not normal. That's why I don't trust cats. Whatever comes out of them looks like the stuff that comes out of demons. There's black dust. There's like a pile of something that doesn't look like it was an animal. It looks like it was the body of a demon from the portal of hell mixed with hair. And the sound that the cat makes to expunge that from its body is also demonic. They're cryptic. They're satanic. Cats are not normal. Their farts are not normal. I think that the cats hold the secrets to the Akashic records. And all the holes in cats are portals to hell. But it's fun. Demi Moore's 4 farts, and my dad would enjoy this news. I think he would laugh. I think he would read the article. And now we know what really caused Bruce Willis's dementia. Demi Moore's butt trumpet. Demi. I can joke about dementia because my dad had dementia before you get all up in arms. Oh, God, she's being insensitive. How dare you? Gizmo just came home. Give him time. Give him time to reconnect. Let's do a little Maybay's mail because we did kind of say, not that this is a Dr. P episode, but it kind of is a Dr. P episode because we brought it back. And, it made me think of people being lonely and how to sort of cure that. I know we kind of talked about it on the podcast before, but I also thought I'm so fortunate to have a job where I talk and I don't feel alone. This podcast, I think, has really made me feel like I have a community. And so because of that, I've been able to get through harder times in my life because of this outlet. So thank you guys ahead of time for that. I'm going to include this Dr. P as a Maybay's mail because you guys sent it to me. Traditional Archer, 1982. Hey, I'm a 1982 baby as well. I'm just curious what you do to keep yourself so radiant and beautiful. I cry every day. No, I don't know. There's a bunch of things that I incorporate into my life. And I've realized that discipline is a form of self-care and self-love. Discipline is hard for everybody. And consistency is hard for a lot of people as well. But honestly, getting out first thing in the morning, as soon as I can, to get outside and get under that sunlight, even if it's not sunny, is vital. Moving. And look at me. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. I am radiant and beautiful. But yeah, I can feel that. I feel it. So I think moving's really important. What you put in your body is important. I'm not getting ketamine from the streets of LA. Thankfully, I don't have an addiction issue with it. But I value what I put in my body. I value the people who I have around my body. And you just have to, this is a quote from, I think, a doctor. I don't know what doctor. If somebody knows, I think Zach Bushard, what's his name? I think maybe Whitney had him on her podcast. Dr. Zach something. Dr. Zach Bush. Yes. I believe he said this. I could be wrong. It may be another person. Maybe somebody can tell me. You have to put a boundary around your self-care and make it non-negotiable. And at some point, you just have to do that. And I think when you start to do that, you start to radiate. But there are days where I'm not radiating. Let me be real. Everything has to be plugged in. So I have to plug myself in, and I do that with alone time. I get depleted in life. A lot of things can deplete you in life. And ironically enough, loneliness, being alone, is what recharges me. So thank you, traditional archer, and I hope your archery is going well. Mark Nargi, what was the best food you ever had, and why is it my mac and cheese? Did I have your mac and cheese? Because you said your mac and cheese, because I thought you were just saying mac and cheese. I love mac and cheese. I love mac and cheese in almost all shapes and form. Even bad mac and cheese is good mac and cheese. Do you remember mac and cheese from high school? They give you that dry-ass scoop of mac and cheese with the shape of the pan, a sharp edge. Remember that mac and cheese? You'd cut your lip on that burnt cheese, but man, was it good. I love mac and cheese. I like Kraft mac and cheese. I like Goodles. I just tried Goodles. They're delicious, and it even feels better because it's not as bad as everything else, but sometimes eating something bad feels so good. Why? Dr. Amen, why? But I do love mac and cheese. I love your aunt's mac and cheese. I love my aunt's mac and cheese. I love mac and cheese from backyard barbecues. Woo! I love mac and cheese in a box. I love it in a bowl. I love it in my mouth. It's my favorite food, and I won't apologize. Send me mac and cheese. Velveeta shells and cheese? Velveeta shells and liquid gold. I felt rich. Every time I had a scoop of Velveeta shells and cheese, I felt rich because it felt like gold. They told me it was gold. And I'm like, we're not broke. We could turn this Velveeta shells and cheese into money. Anytime mom gets low, I'm bringing the Velveeta shells and cheese into the bank, and I'm cashing it in. You took a bite of Velveeta shells and cheese, and your future felt bright. Oh, God. I want some now. I'm going to get mac and cheese today, for sure. 5.5 Michigander. Oh, Michigander. I'm sick from being alone, so can cure me with a date. I don't think so. I don't think so. We're going to get to your question last, because I think your question sort of encapsulates a couple things I've touched on in this episode. Trev Turbo, who I think has asked questions before. Why is dating marriage in the current state that it is? That's a good question. I think a lot of people are having relationship issues. And I think, in my opinion, it's a result of people really feeling stress and anxiety because of feeling like they know too much about what's going on in the world. And even what they think they know is going on in the world, I don't think is going on in the world. I think we're getting a lot of misinformation. I think we spend way too much time on our phones. I think when we spend time on our phones, we're ingesting information that is not necessarily healthy for us, and it creates a behavioral pattern and a thought process in our mind. And, our thoughts create our feelings create our actions, and our actions sort of dictate how we are in the world. And all of that is so connected. So I think when you're on your phone a lot, you get a lot of this negative news, and sometimes you get positive as well, but you can really fall into rabbit holes. And I'm not saying phones are the problem to relationships, but a lot of them are. We have too many issues with looking at negative things. There's access to too many people. We're spending time where we should just be bored. Instead, we're on our phone doom scrolling. But I do think a lot of that has an effect on your behavior and your thoughts and your confidence and how you are in the world. Instead of just existing, we're sort of on autopilot when we're on our phone. And I think a lot of people in marriages and dating, they stop dating. They stop acting interested in the person. You get complacent. And complacency is a poison. Now, being comfort and feeling comfortable with someone is different. But being complacent in a relationship, well, you either got to move or get off the pot. And movement is ideal. Take your relationship, put your relationship on wheels, get working, get moving, put a little energy into it. And maybe your relationship needs less energy. Maybe it needs pause. Maybe it needs a break. But either way, the relationship needs some sort of energy to heal it. And you have to have a way to resolve things in some way. Even no resolution can be a resolution. Even agreeing that we're not going to resolve this right now can be a resolution. But I think dating and marriage is really difficult because people are now facing themselves and maybe facing a real true part of themselves. And it's hard to heal. And it's hard to have the resources to know how to excavate the part of you that needs to be healed. And when you get ruptured as a human being, there's no going back to who you were. And if you can't go back to who you were and you're moving forward and evolving, you need tools to do that. And I think a lot of people in relationships just don't have the tools to mend themselves and to mend the relationship. And I think a lot of times people look to the relationship to either be a place to hide, a place to avoid, or a place to dump. And there's other ways that people use a relationship, but I think it's really important to not dump on someone that you're in a relationship with. And the most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. So I think when you're asking why is dating and marriage in this current state, it is because of the current state you're in. Not necessarily you, Trev Turbo. But Trev Turbo, I get it. It just clicked. But it is your responsibility. You are your responsibility. And I really believe like this whole saying of, find the love of your life. You should become the love of your life. And I don't think you can love someone until you become the love of your life. And I think that's why a lot of people have trouble. And I think the past few years have been really hard for a lot of people. And it's been hard for us to find a sovereign place in a relationship when we don't have a sovereign place with the relationship with ourselves. So I think it's really up to you to find that peace within yourself and find the calm and find the ways that you trigger yourself and find the ways that you sort of sabotage yourself and see how that plays out in your relationship. And I wish you the best. Let's get back to 5.5 Michigander. I'm so sick from being alone. So can you cure me with a date? I cannot cure you with a date. That's not my responsibility. I'm also in a relationship and also no. But beyond that, dating someone to avoid being alone is not a good reason to date someone. It's a bad reason. Because you and Trev Turbo should hang out just and be friends. I am not your cure for your loneliness. And by the way, being alone and being lonely are two different things. And being lonely isn't a bad thing. I think you need to date yourself. If you're sick of being alone, hang out with some friends. Go to a public place. Go to a museum. Go for a walk. Go to a movie. Go out alone, but in public. That's a good middle ground. Because you need to figure out where you're comfortable being alone. Because if you're needing to be in a relationship because you're alone, not a good reason. But if you're sick of being alone, that's a different thing. I get that. You got to put yourself out there, but make sure you're not doing it to attach to somebody so you're avoiding loneliness. And let me tell you, loneliness ain't so bad. Turns out the cure for loneliness is being alone and doing things you enjoy. I've started booking things for myself. I'm going away. I'm going to Europe alone. I probably shouldn't say that because I'm going to end up like the girls in the movie Hostel 4 with me and Chaplin in frickin' Italy. I'm going to go to Italy alone. I'm taking classes alone. I'm doing an overnight staycation out of LA alone. And I think that's also okay to do when you're in a relationship. But before you get in a relationship, you need to date yourself. So the cure for loneliness is to find peace being alone. And then once you're not even thinking about hanging out with other people, out from a cloud comes an angel, your soulmate. And we can have many soulmates in this life, but there she is, there he is, there they are. He, she, they, them, they emerge and they fill your spirit. And they not only fill your spirit, they overflow your spirit because your spirit's already full because you've learned how to be alone and be cool with it. And I think that's the cure. The cure is to learn to love, to be alone. And then when you meet somebody who's right, they just add to your life. And I wish that for you. I wish that for a lot of you people out there. Not everybody, because a lot of people are administering drugs to addicts and making it so that their loneliness ends up being the thing they drown in. And that's horrible. So I want to dedicate this episode to Matthew Perry, even though I don't know him. Never met him, but I did see him once first time I came to LA, I was driving around with my girlfriends. We drove around Beverly Hills trying to find famous people's homes. We went on our own little famous people's homes tour that they have here that are so annoying. People get in the van and they go and point and they're like, Cuba Gooding Jr. lives there. Katy Perry lives there. No, they don't. It's a lie. So my girlfriends and I did our own little tour. We came to a stop sign. We were in this rented car. I think it was like a cool sports car, and it had a moon roof or a sunroof, the one that you could stand up in. And we came to a red light, and we were in Beverly Hills, I believe. And I looked in the rearview mirror and I go, oh my God, that's Matthew Perry. And my girlfriend Alicia, who was driving, was like, no way. And she looks in the mirror. She's like, it's Matthew Perry. And my friend Aaron in the back, we're like, oh my God, it's Matthew Perry. Because we love Matthew Perry. I loved Friends. Thought he was just the funniest guy on the show, the most talented guy on that show. And I stood up through the window, the sunroof. I stood up through the sunroof and I waved at Matthew. I was so excited to see him. I'm like, look, we found a star. We found Matthew Perry. And he waved back and smiled and waved at us. And then realized he didn't know us and just was like, well, I don't know these girls. But it made our day. He was driving in his little convertible. We got to say hi. And now his spirit's free. And I hope the people who love him are able to find some peace in his release. And I hope that those people who helped his demise are never released. I hope they get what they deserve. And I hope this podcast is what you guys deserve this week. Thank you so much. And I hope it was a cure for your loneliness. Hope you're not too lonely. And I hope this podcast has helped you. Thank you guys so much.